The Tom Woods Show, episode 965.
Prepare to set fire to the index card of allowable opinion. Your daily dose of liberty education starts here. The Tom Woods Show.
Hey, all you gun owners out there, if you're looking for ammunition at a decent price, or you've had trouble finding certain calibers in stock, well, AmmoSeek is going to solve your problems. Check them out at ammoseek.com. Hey everybody, Tom Woods here. Are you sick of this whole Che Guevara shirt thing? It's still a thing. It's still going on, even to this day. And my guest today is actually behind an effort to get a statue. Can you believe there's a statue of Che Guevara taken down? And to spread the truth about communism and about him in particular and about the Cuban Revolution. So we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to take some time to talk about the situation in Venezuela. But in any case, my guest is Federico Fernandez, who is a senior fellow with the Austrian Economics Center in Vienna and is founder and president of Fundación Bases in Argentina. We'll be linking to both of those at tomwoods.com/965. Federico, welcome to the show.
Hello, Tom. Thank you for having me.
I was interested in talking about an article that appeared in The Economist that I think Bob Murphy sent me, or maybe you sent it to him and he sent it to me, but it's about what you guys are up to with regard to a Che Guevara statue there. So I'd like to hear about that campaign and then take a few minutes to talk about him.
Yes, my foundation, Fundación Bases, is located in Rosario, Argentina. And Rosario is a very nice city. You know, we are by the Paraná River, which is a beautiful river, and it's a city full of hardworking people. It's a beautiful city in many ways, but unfortunately was also the birthplace of Che Guevara. He lived shortly there, just 1 year, since he was born until he was 1, and then he moved, but he was born there. And in the last, I would say, 15 years or so, which is in a way and it's very much related with our last populist national administration, which our local authorities were very much in tune with, there was like an explosion of basically publicly funded tributes and monuments to Che Guevara. There's this statue that is featured on The Economist, in the article as a picture. But there's also a Latin American educational centered Che Guevara, which is, very funny. It seems to me that Che Guevara is very far from education, or at least the kind of education we like. Maybe if you want to shoot people or learn things like that, you can go to the Che Guevara Educational Center. But he wasn't much in favor of re-education, but not the education we want to have. And there are all these kinds of things. And we are very much against these things. And we believe that, we are in favor of free speech. And we believe that if private individuals want to honor Che Guevara, of course, we would criticize that. But, we would never forbid that. But on the other hand, that the state is doing so, we think it's morally wrong, it's incorrect, it's waste of taxpayers' money. Argentina, as you know, has a lot of problems, and the state could be doing something else with our taxpayers' money, and we would like the statue removed. Che Guevara, in the end, was an assassin and a very violent man, and we don't think it's a symbol we want our city to have.
So let's go into that in a bit more depth. Given that so many American kids are wearing shirts with his image on it, in fact, that even comes up in the article. Somebody says the young people aren't wearing Margaret Thatcher shirts. All right, well, yeah. Okay, but let me be blunt. A lot of young people I meet are completely vacuous airheads, so it doesn't matter to me what they want to put on their shirt. Almost none of them know anything. So I bet some of them don't even know about the violence in his past. But on the other hand, surely the local government responsible for the statue knows very well. So, and they very much defend him. How?
Yeah, indeed. That's I think there are like a two-part answer. On the one hand, the Che Guevara myth is, if you ask me, really, it's basically due to two photographs. Two photographs made Che a world star. One is a picture taken in Havana in 1960, I believe, which is the famous, T-shirt picture that you see everywhere, which is a picture, a photo taken by a photographer named Alberto Corda, and there was a demonstration in Havana, and Che went out to a balcony, and they took that picture, and really that picture looks, it's like the revolutionary poster boy, because, he's with the long hair, the special hat he wore, a leather jacket, looking defiant. And the picture, aesthetically is a very interesting picture. And that picture, immortalized him. And the second picture, which is a little bit creepier, is the picture they taken of his body. He went to Bolivia to try to spread the revolution and failed miserably, and he was caught and executed by the Bolivian army. And they showed his body to the press, but he was in such a poor state when he was captured that they grabbed two nuns that were in the area to clean the body and present him a little bit better. So these nuns, cleaned the body, took the rags he was wearing, they cut his hair a little bit because he looked like a homeless person. And this helped create the myth. There's particularly a picture taken from the feet up that he looks in a way to a Renaissance picture by Andrea Mantegna called The Lamentation of Christ. And there were, and as soon as that picture was published, all these blasphemous, Christ-like features of Che Guevara were highlighted. And basically, he became a global celebrity thanks to that, and that is why he's stamped in so many T-shirts of people who have no idea what they are wearing. Basically, wear a Che Guevara T-shirt, and I'll go to his crimes. It's like wearing, a Stalin T-shirt, a Hitler T-shirt, a Lenin T-shirt, a Mao T-shirt, something like that. He was a murderer. It's documented. He killed a lot of people. He personally killed a lot of people. He signed a lot of executions. He wanted, for instance, homosexuals and religious believers to be sent to re-education camps, and he did so. He was an addict to violence. The regime that he helped establish in Cuba transformed the country that had the highest GDP per capita in Latin America to one of the poorest. Close to 80,000 people have died trying to leave Cuba, basically to go to Miami. They have died, in the sea, horrible death. 1.5 million had to leave the island because of Che Guevara. And probably this is one of his worst crimes. He was for some time, the revolution, triumphed in 1959, and until 1965 he had two roles, in the government, and one of them he was the president of the Central Bank of Cuba. And of course, in that regard, he was, like most of central bankers. He destroyed the currency and he caused a lot of inflation. The other role he had was Minister of Industry, and he completely failed. It was a chaotic a total administrative chaos. And they were so inefficient that in Cuba, a country that is very hot and, you have summer all year long, they bought snow removal machines.
All right. Well, let's back up a minute. I want to know, who were the people who died in the Cuban Revolution? Who were the people whose deaths we can attribute to Che Guevara? Because some people will say maybe that these were enemies of the people in the sense that they were sympathizers with or part of the previous regime, and any revolution is going to be ugly in that sense.
Yeah, that's a common, counter-argument. The truth is that most of the people that were executed but the first thing is that the Cuban Revolution was, a very soft revolution. The Batista regime collapsed because Batista was a very bad leader, and people did, and what Fidel Castro at that time was doing was not a communist revolution, and many people sympathized with the anti-Batista movement, whatever this was, because they were fed up of the corruption, and many and many other bad things that had to do with Batista. In fact, the revolution was more a PR campaign than a real guerrilla warfare. The New York Times, El Corriere della Sera of Spain, and many other, important news outlets made more for the revolution to happen than actual bullets and fighting. Once they got into power, of course, like most communists, it's a small minority that then sees power and never leaves. They started ruling with an iron fist. But basically, and this is documented, and there are very good books. Unfortunately, not all of them are available in English, but one very good starting point is the one written by Álvaro Vargas Llosa named The Che Myth. It was published by the Independent Institute, if I remember correctly, and it's in English, and it's very well documented. But there are other, and the key issue is that, for instance, he was in charge of a prison during the most of 1959, and most of the people executed in that prison were basically people who just didn't like the regime, but it's not that they were just what we could call now, people who were not on board with the revolution, but it's not that they were fighting against Che Guevara. No, it was people that, they didn't like what the turn the revolution was taken, and they were simply executed because of their ideas and their opinions. And most of the people who were executed were like this. So it's not, and the system. And the other thing is that we have to let's judge Che by his fruits. Let's see the system that he helped established in Cuba. They basically destroyed the country. People flee like crazy. They even try to swim to Miami. That's the horrible situation they are. You have to, when we talk about the Cuban balseros, the people who live in these small boats, really, the boat is a very generous term. They try to live with whatever they can find that floats. And that is why so many people have died trying to escape the island, which is basically a giant prison. The quality of living in Cuba is terrible. It's a Stalinistic regime, one of the very few that remain. So really, there's nothing to say in favor of Che Guevara. And also Che Guevara made a lot of statements in which he praised hatred as a weapon for revolution. He said at the UN Assembly and he acknowledged that they have executed, they were executing, and they will continue executing as long as it was necessary. And unfortunately, it was necessary for a very long time because they killed a lot of people.
All right, we've got a lot more to talk about. First, we'll thank our sponsor. Folks, here's yet another reason that the internet is the most glorious thing in the history of the world. Check out ammoseek.com. Here is where you can quickly find ammunition, guns, magazines, and reloading components at the very best prices. It's a search engine. It lists over 350 different calibers, over 100 online retailers, adding new retailers constantly, and it only lists products that are in stock and ready for purchase. So, in other words, get a load of this. You can search by caliber, brand, grain weight, casing type, keywords, and more. You can save customized searches for later quick retrieval. You can set price alerts to receive an email or a text message when a product becomes available at a price you specify. You can also write and read retailer ratings and reviews. Seriously, why would you not use this service? Absolutely unbelievable, yet another miracle of the internet age. The website is ammoseek.com. That's AMMOSEEK.com. What still bothers me is what seems like a trivial thing, but the fact that people wear this guy's image on a T-shirt like this is kind of chic or in any way acceptable. Well, and it goes to show the ongoing double standard that exists apparently all over the world, that you can glorify a left-wing so-called revolutionary, which of course dignifies him too much. He was He was a murderer, but he was a left-wing murderer, so we can celebrate him, and it's cool to like him. But if somebody wore, I don't know, a shirt with Franco on it, let's say, everyone would be outraged and appalled. But nobody really is out. In fact, if I bet if somebody did wear, you gave the example of a Lenin shirt, I think once in a while somebody does wear a Lenin shirt. Nobody shuns that person. The person is not does not lose his membership card in society for wearing that shirt. So I don't even know if I have a question here.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you mean, and in fact, we started this campaign. This is a this is a very important year because it's been 100 years since the Russian Revolution, and it's the 50th anniversary too of the death of Che Guevara. And last year we were thinking with my colleagues of Fundación Bases what we were going to do to try to raise awareness of the crimes of communism and all the horrible things they did. And we thought that, in a way, and I will be very, very generous, but it was very good to put a human face and in the face of Che, or more or less human, in the sense to say, okay, we are not talking in abstraction of what communism was. It was a criminal ideology. No, we are talking about this individual. And this individual that, our local authorities, for instance, are trying to make us, glorify, he was a cold-blooded killer. And it's not only a terrible double standard, it's also a falsification of history. And I think that is the key. And they have been very successful in that because, in a way, most of the people who wear a Che T-shirt are either completely clueless and, they just, wear it because it's fashionable or trendy, or they have been misled and they think that, Che defended something which he didn't. He's glorified for exactly the opposite of what he really thought and did. Because he was, many people who are in the gay community and they feel identified with Che Guevara. He was a persecutor of homosexuals in Cuba. And this is not my idea. This is very well documented. He thought that homosexuality was a bourgeois, problem. And with the revolution, it should be eliminated as soon as possible. And he was instrumental in creating re-education camps for homosexuals. Of course, for Christians too. And it's very sad, that now the current Pope is so sympathetic to certain ideas that have been so bad for Latin America. But, well, that maybe is another story.
Well, let's say something about another country, if we may. As long as I have you, I want to get your thoughts on Venezuela, which is a spiraling disaster. And what's been interesting to observe is how the left has tried to explain it away. And they've tried to claim that this is the result somehow of capitalists undermining them, or the price of oil, or whatever it is, or corruption. Now, my initial response to that is that corruption exists all over the world. It's just that it doesn't normally lead to there being no toilet paper on the shelves in normal countries. So what would be so unique about corruption in Venezuela that it would lead to empty grocery store shelves? So it can't just be corruption. How stupid do they think we are? But how would you reply to that claim that this is not the fault of socialism, it's the fault, as usual, right, of saboteurs who always seem to be destroying the fruits of socialism? It's always saboteurs. So it's really right out of Animal Farm in a way.
Yeah, totally. And, well, that's it. Well, and as you mentioned, Venezuela is not the only country where you have corrupt politicians. Basically all countries have corrupt politicians. And, and the other thing, Venezuela is not the only country with oil. And, and I'm not saying that these are utopias, but you don't see Saudi Arabia completely collapsing because of the price of oil supposedly went down, which is true to a certain extent, because I always give this example. When Chavez arrived to power in 1999, the barrel of oil was close to $9. If we take that, Chavez arriving to power in 1999 as the year zero, from that point until now, the price of oil was never below that price, and it was way up. At one point, it was 140, For 4 years in a row, it was between 120 and 140. So it was a fantastic situation for the whole of Latin America. Everything that basically we export, the prices went to the roof. The reasons are manifold, but it doesn't matter. The prices went up, and many countries took advantage of this opportunity. And now that the price of oil is supposedly low, it's between 4 or 5 times the price that we had when Chavez arrived to power. So that doesn't sound, too terrible. I would love, my income to be in the next 15 years 5 times what it is today, and in those 15 years to be 16 times, 14 times. I don't think I will be bankrupt in those at the end of this, fantastic cycle of 15 years or so. So that is a complete fabrication. And the other thing is that the key question of this kind of, the key issue, of this kind of governments like the one of Chavez and Maduro in Venezuela, and is that for some time, a very brief time, redistribution works, in the sense that, it's like drug addiction. At the beginning it feels great, but of course then you have a lot of problems. You are sick and probably you are about to die. But those years that Chavez used, that he destroyed all the capital that was accumulated by previous generations, and also made use of the fantastic oil prices that he had, many people probably felt that things were going better, and that is how you create the myth. There's finally this popular government, and they are doing things for the people, and you see the results. Of course, this is completely unsustainable, and this is what basically Ludwig von Mises called as destructionism. That is the policy of these governments. But for some time, it feels good, and you have like this crazy party. And when the party ends, and your house is all dirty, and you have to clean up the dishes, of course, then it's the dark forces, the U.S., global capitalism, the banks, or whatever dark forces you want to name, that are responsible for the collapse. No, the collapse was contained in the policies that they were applying. But again, for some time, and they really used those 2, 3, 4, 5 good years to create the myth. It's the same. Perón did the same in Argentina in the 1940s, and unfortunately, that myth lasted a lot here in Argentina.
So, can we hope at least that a silver lining of this situation will be that the people will draw the correct conclusion from it? This is what upsets me the most: is that you go through a horrible ordeal like this, and people draw the conclusion that we need better people in charge to do what these people were trying to do, instead of thinking maybe what they were trying to do is stupid. Maybe that's what's leading to the problem. And I fear they're not going to draw the right conclusion. Do you think my fear is justified?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think your fear is very well justified, and we have to wait and see. Venezuela today, Venezuela is what we could call a humanitarian tragedy, and yesterday they ran a fake election because they want to change the constitution, and probably they will do it, and Venezuela could very well end up being a new Cuba, and they are very. Nicolás Maduro, the president of Venezuela, is advised. He has top advisors from Cuba. Cuban agents are working in Venezuela as we speak. Some people claim that secret services of Cuba are killing Venezuelans in Venezuela, which is, a tragedy. It's horrible. They are killing. I don't know, regardless of which part of the government is killing them. There's a lot. Just yesterday there were 14 people killed in Venezuela. It's a complete disaster. Many people have left. The only thing I could say, and this is of course not all that good, but Venezuela is paying a service to the rest of the region in the way that in the 21st century, many countries in Latin America, after the collapse and the failure of the neoliberal governments of the 1990s, many countries had these populist socialists in power: Argentina, Brazil, Ecuador, Bolivia, Venezuela, of course. And some of those countries, Argentina is one of them, are trying to leave that populist wave. I think they will be successful. And in a way, what is going on in Venezuela is like looking yourself at the mirror, or looking at the possible future of what your country could have become if we continue that populist path. And many people are very scared and saying, okay, no, we can't go that way. And in that sense, people are learning, but I don't know. In Venezuela, the key issue is that, on the one hand, you don't know what's going on, because the government claims that yesterday 8 million people voted, and the opposition said that it's less than a quarter of that. We don't know. It's like in Venezuela today, it's like Stalin said, the only ones that count are the ones that are counting the votes. And that is very sad, and it's a very complicated situation. And many people, but coming back to your fear, many friends of mine in Venezuela, what they are concerned is that the opposition seems to be proposing a softer kind of Chavismo. We are going to try to do the same policies, but will be more honest and less authoritarian, and that will be it. And with that, we will solve the problems. And the problems is that the state in Venezuela is basically running the economy, and these are the consequences.
Can you tell us could you say a brief word about the organization you belong to that is behind the campaign to get rid of the statue?
Yes, gladly. The organization name is Fundación Bases. We started our activities in 2004. We are now not only in Rosario, but in several cities across the world. But our main headquarters are in Rosario, and most of the people who started the foundation and the founders are from Rosario. And our idea is our goal is to spread classical liberal ideas, mainly through education, but not only with that. The campaign is in a way to spread, our ideas in a different way. And our main programs are an international Austrian economics conference that we do every 2 years. The next one will be in August 2018 in Rosario. And we also run a year-long online program, all with webinars and short seminars, which try to teach people in the ideas of the Austrian School of Economics and classical liberalism in general. The program is completely free and basically in Spanish. This year we started the program with a webinar by Robert Murphy, by the way.
Oh, very nice. So there's a website. Tell people what that is, even though it is primarily in Spanish.
Our website is fundacionbases.org. Sorry, that was
that's okay.
Yeah, and the conference website is in English. It's a long name. It's AustrianEconomicsConference.org.
Okay, I'll put both of those up at tomwoods.com/965, and just say I appreciated the conversation today, and we should. When I need to talk about topics like this, I should keep you in mind, because I enjoyed this, and I'm really glad to hear about what you folks are doing. Both you're all over the place. You're in Austria physically, and yet you're still influencing events on another continent. You're my kind of guy. Good work, and thanks again.
Thank you, Tom. And I'm a devoted listener both of the Tom Woods Show and Contra Krugman. So to me, it's a great honor to be here speaking with you.
Thank you very much. You are a model citizen of this world of ours. Thank you very much. All right, that's going to do it for today. Tomorrow, unfortunately, it is my sad duty to deal with the left-wing hysterics in the libertarian movement, so-called, yes, they are acting like leftists. When you call people Nazis for no reason, that's what a leftist does. Like, that if a person is anti-war, pro-market, decentralist, believes that rights come before the state, this is not a Nazi. Could bet the farthest thing away from a Nazi. So I want to deal with these people who have a little bit of a screw loose upstairs. Either that, or much more likely, they know perfectly well that their targets are not Nazis, but they know that this is a toxic word that can destroy people, and so they're going to play that game exactly the way the mainstream media plays it. That's totally pathetic and inexcusable for libertarians to be doing, and it's going to be my great pleasure to smash this whole thing to smithereens tomorrow. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to be in for a treat tomorrow, because this has just got to stop. I mean, we've sat back and just said nothing while people like this pull stunts like that. And, of course, it gets them, they're the respectable ones. We're not like those libertarians over there. We're super respectable. We don't ever ask any challenging questions. We just remind you that price controls don't work. Yeah, we get that. Everybody knows price controls don't work. So there is, within the libertarian movement, unfortunately, I'm sorry I even have to address this. It's not my fault. I did not in any way start this. This is not, well, geez, Woods is always getting into fights. Nope. But when my friends are attacked, like when they attacked Judge Napolitano, I rose to his defense. I made a video for him. I did everything I could for him. When they do that to Walter or any of the people I respect, I come back and defend them. And now it's just getting completely out of hand, because these days everybody, according to the left, everybody's a white supremacist, and because racist doesn't have the same zing anymore because they've used it on everybody. So now the new thing is white supremacist, because that sounds terrible. So you just call everybody that, and that will ruin their reputations the way racist used to. Well, now the new thing is to call people a Nazi or literally Hitler, and it's totally ridiculous and beneath anybody calling himself a libertarian. And this should not happen. And yes, I know you're not violating the non-aggression principle by calling somebody a Nazi. I get that. I understand. I know a lot about the non-aggression principle. But the non-aggression principle is the bare minimum for your ambitions for your life as a human being. It's the bare minimum. Do you really want to get to the end of your life and have the best thing you can say for yourself be, I didn't punch anybody. Like, that's it. I didn't murder anybody. No rapes occurred by me. And that's all you want to be able to say for yourself? By the way, I dealt with this over on targetliberty.com. There was a thread about those teens who were sitting there watching a guy drown and laughing about it, and taunting the guy and continuing to laugh, and then when he died, they announced that he died, laughed, and walked away instead of making a phone call. Now, yeah, I get that doesn't strictly violate the non-aggression principle. That, yeah, that's true. Taunting a drowning man does not technically violate the non-aggression principle. Yet I had people lecturing me. How dare I say anything to these people? Why? They're not violating the non-aggression principle. The non-aggression principle is the bare minimum. The non-aggression principle just deals with when violence can be initiated. That's all it deals with. It does not deal with what does it mean to live a virtuous life. It does not have anything to do with aesthetics. It does not have anything to do with 99% of your life, basically. 99% of your life needs to be filled with virtues, not just, I didn't kill anybody. Oh, wow. Wow, let's put you on a pedestal. You didn't kill anybody. Wow. All right, anyway, I'm a little bit off topic here, but tomorrow that's it. That's it. This is not going to happen anymore. Or if it does, I'm just going to keep smashing these people till they stop. And I'm going to have fun doing it. I'm going to smash them. If I have to have a bonus episode every week where it's the smash episode of the week, where I take somebody, I name him by name, and I smash them until they stop doing this, then maybe that actually seems kind of like fun. I bring some people on, we'll get some snacks, get in a comfy chair, and just start smashing. Anyway, the first smash comes tomorrow. Tune in. See you then.
Become a smarter libertarian in just 30 minutes a day. Visit TomWoods.com to subscribe to the show for free, and we'll see you next time.